you for bearing with us. Good morning. This public hearing is now called to order. Today is July 24th and the time is 10:12 a.m. This hearing is scheduled from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'm Sherry Ann House, Associate General Counsel of the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Also here today is Alexis Cuffey from the Environmental Health Division of the Department, and Svetlana Bardanek, who you have seen around, the woman with the red hair and the glasses. She is also from the department. She is an assistant to the Secretary of the Board of Health. We are here today for a public hearing on whether the Board of Health should adopt amendments to Article 161 of the New York City Health Code. A notice of intention to amend this article was published in the City Record on June 22nd, 2017. A copy of the first page of the notice of intention has been provided to the reporter to include in the record. The purpose of today's hearing is to elicit comments and information to assist the Board of Health in determining whether to adopt the amendments to Article 161. Persons wishing to speak at this hearing were asked to pre-register, and I believe some of you registered outside, yes? Okay. I will now call upon the first person who registered to speak. Please identify yourself for the record and spell your name if requested. Give your title and the name of your organization or person you represent, if you do represent anyone. Please remember that you must limit your remarks to 5 minutes. I will give you a 2-minute warning when you're at after 3 minutes, okay? Just so people get rattled. And 5 minutes is actually a long time. I can tell you from speaking in public a lot. You may also submit written comments if you have not completed your remarks. So the first person we'll call to speak is John Lapham here.
I am.
Okay. Come up. State your name, spell it. Press the red button, the speak button.
It's green right now.
Oh, it's green, that's okay.
Good morning. My name is John Lapham, and it's Lapham. And I'm here as the General Counsel for Rover. And thank you for the opportunity to talk this morning, so I appreciate the invitation.
Mr. Lapham, are you from a law firm?
No, I work for Rover.
Okay.
Thank you. I do I'm the General Counsel and do their partnerships in business development and government relations. Most of us wear a lot of hats there, so. But we do appreciate the chance to provide input this morning on the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene's proposed changes to the New York City Health Code, and specifically the provisions of Article 161. Rover itself is a technology platform that connects about 102,000 dog owners, pet sitters, and dog walkers from all 5 boroughs in New York City. We offer safe, local, informed, and affordable pet care for individuals. And we have an interest in seeing the City of New York's laws, regulations, and rules evolve to continue to meet current market needs for affordable, accessible pet care. Rover is not the only technology platform out there. We're just a new way for owners and sitters to connect. There are others, including Fetch, Care.com, and Pet Sitters, for instance. There are, depending on the stats you look at, well over 1 million pet owners in New York City, and more than 95,000 New York City pet owners depend on Rover services currently for sitting, including those with disabled, elderly, anxious, and other dogs that are often turned away by commercial kennels or difficult for friends, family, or neighbors to care for. In our view, one of the great advantages of pet ownership is companionship and people learning to love and care for another living being, whether a single person in the city, a double working couple, or empty nesters. The benefit of pet parenting or ownership to human beings is almost irrefutable. And Rover is simply one of many means of facilitating that ownership for people. Additionally, city living is expensive, and a key factor giving rise to this gig economy people speak of. And over 9,000 sitters in New York currently supplement their student, retired, or other incomes by providing pet care through our services. A lot of this money goes towards basic essentials like food, tuition, utilities, and other basic bills. Rover goes through a stringent approval process, and less than 20% of those applying to be a Rover sitter end up making it through to the end. Regarding the proposed rule change, our specific concerns are related to the changes that are described as a text simplification but also by admission a quote, slight broadening of the scope of the regulation that came as a surprise to many New Yorkers, and that is that pet sitting for compensation is illegal. The existence and let alone broadening of this regulation can cause significant disruption to those who own pets. And without affordable local pet care, people are discouraged from owning and adopting pets, which has been a concern to humane societies across the country outside of New York City. From a process perspective, we've also been concerned as we have met with and engaged various officials from the offices of the mayor, the health department, and the DOH-MH since the spring. And we've engaged in discussions to explain home pet care, what our community is like, and our commitment to affordable and accessible pet care, and our willingness to engage in this debate. Through this rulemaking process, it came as a surprise to us despite our involvement and active engagement, and we were happy to receive the postcard, but it did not provide a lot of notice in order to get ready. The specific matter was a bit of a tech simplification, but is actually doubling down on a practice that's very old, and that is people watching neighbors' pets for compensation. And this not only imperils New Yorkers' access to forms of local affordable pet care, but also entrenches the prohibition on a very basic service of that millions of people in New York, or depending on maybe only 1 million, but still quite a few, depend on for their pet care. Other places in the United States have already addressed this. States like California and Colorado, for instance, have, instead of banning it, put prohibitions that said you may not, for instance, watch more than 4 or 3 pets. And if you do that, then you're exempt from licensing. Much the same way in Manhattan, you can currently watch 2 children without being subject to license. So right now, people are allowed to drop off their 4-year-old, but not their dog. By removing obstacle, we think the city can help to encourage pet care that is both safe and informed, as instead of driving it back underground to the land of Craigslist and bulletin boards and anonymity that doesn't have the advantage of peer review. So we're requesting an indefinite delay of the rulemaking process as related to these proposed changes, and would like to engage with the Department of Health and to collaboratively develop the public policy that better implements and encourages responsible and informed public pet care. And we ask that the DOH-MH consider altering 16115A to clearly state that sitters that care for fewer than 4 pets in the absence of the owner regulation, in the absence of regulations, be allowed for compensation expressly under the health code. Again, we do appreciate the opportunity to provide this input and share our concerns, and are looking forward to future conversations. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lapham. The next person we have scheduled to speak is Michael DeMarco. DeMarco, sorry.
Hi, I'm Michael DeMarco. I'm the owner of Doggy Be Good Kennel Camp in College Point, Queens. So I'm just going to go through what I have here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the law-abiding boarding businesses in the city of New York. I find this situation troubling on so many levels, and I believe that our citizens, as well as the city of New York, needs to realize the enormity of this problem. The laws set forth by the Department of Health and in jurisdiction of animal boarding facilities are there for a reason. These laws are to protect the health of the public, animals, as well as the law-abiding businesses. Rover.com claims that they are not responsible for upholding the laws and that they are a platform, and the clients are responsible who advertise with them. Rover is generating income from every dog booked through their advertising site. They are making millions from this business and are not just a platform, but instead a business partner. Rover.com advertises on radios, magazines, newspapers, TVs, and spends a large amount of revenue on advertising to generate more income. That's considered a business. It is not a case of just a local neighbor or a local kid watching the neighbor's dog for a few bucks. This is a multi-million-dollar business that is generating illegal income for thousands of people. Rover boasts over 9,000 clients advertising on their site in New York City alone. That's 9,000 unregistered business in New York. This amounts to hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost revenue and tax dollars to our city and local businesses yearly, and in turn impacts jobs provided by legitimate businesses. This is aside from the major issue of danger that it poses by having potentially unvaccinated dogs in boarding situations. I believe in fair business, and I am an animal lover, I've dedicated my entire life to the safety and preservation of animals. I follow the guidelines set forth by my local governing agencies because I know the catastrophic events that can occur from not having regulations. I'm a trained professional and know what to look for when it comes to animal disease such as parvovirus, distemper. I'm aware of cross-contamination and how to prevent it. I'm aware of which diseases are zoonotic and which are not. I am trained in animal handling and emergency rescue for animals. I possess all the necessary certificates, permits, licenses, etc. to conduct legal and safe animal boarding in New York City. I am frequently visited by the New York City Department of Health and pass all unannounced inspections and keep my facility up to code in accordance with the laws set forth. So why am I competing with the piracy of illegal business? Mr. Lapham says that not allowing in-home pet boarding deprives owners of safe and affordable care. First of all, the average fee set forth by advertisers on Rover is approximately $40 and up. They are charging the same as most legally operated dog boarding facilities, if not more. So this argument doesn't make much sense. And as far as safety, how can Mr. Lapham comment on the safety when he has no indication on who or what or where these pets are being boarded? There are over 9,000 people advertising, and most don't even require shot records. So let's put the perspective, the safety perspective in hand. The animals and their caregivers. Rover clients are untrained, unlicensed, and have no regulatory authorities such as the New York City Department of Health overseeing them. That's unsafe. Clearly, the comments coming from Rover are financially motivated and not in the best interest of the animals or the public, which is why the website has never notified people of the legalities of animal boarding in the city of New York. As financial beneficiaries, Rover.com is just as responsible as the clients advertising on their site, if not equally, then more so, as they are promoting business clearly knowing it's illegal. I also asked Councilman Corey Johnson to review the facts before making a decision, as his comments were read in the newspaper. And as a legal business owner, and as an educated man, I hope he realizes there is no way of monitoring thousands of in-home pet businesses. And as a legal business owner who has followed the letter of the law since inception, I find it a bit of a slap in the face that anybody would try to change this law and allow illegal in-home boarding in the city of New York. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeMarco.
Oh, one last thing.
Sure.
This is something that I think that everybody should see, and you guys probably know what this is. This was sent to all legal business owners, animal business owners, regarding a new influenza virus among cats. The health department notifies all its legal businesses of this. There's no way of notifying people who are doing in-home boarding to be aware of things such as this. This could be a potential outbreak if no one's aware of it. That's why we have the health department monitoring everything for us.
Mr. DeMarco, I would just ask you for the record, could you just read the heading on the top of that document so it can be in there?
Yes, ma'am.
We can get a copy of it later.
Health Department, Animal Care Centers of New York City report cases of rare influenza virus among cats at the ACC's Manhattan facility. So this was sent out to all.
And what's the date on it?
This was Thursday, December 15th, 2016, and it says for immediate release.
Okay.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else here who wanted to speak or was registered to speak? Excuse me for 1 minute. Now that I have checked with Ms. Burdanek, who is the keeper of all knowledge, I'm going to adjourn this meeting until a later time, there being nobody else wishing to speak. It is now 10:27 a.m. Thank you. It being 11:55 and no further people coming to testify, we conclude this hearing. Thank you.